Road Gang Radio. We've talked about making a living. Now let's get a life. It's Jimmy Mack and Lindsay Lawler with the best stories, the ultimate road trip, the concert of a lifetime, and a home when you're not at home. The wheels have come off, but we're still rolling.
We have our own thing. It's called Road Gang Radio, and we have wonderful people that join us, by the way.
Yeah, buddy, we do. Musician, listen, and what's cool about this next guest, Jim, is it marries a lot of the worlds that we celebrate around here, veterans and music. This guy's a veteran in music. Boom.
Sweet spot. Right in the sweet spot.
Buddy.
Would you care? Would you like me to do the introduction, or do you feel like you would like to introduce this wonderful guest?
I can introduce this wonderful guest. Sure, why not? I already feel connected to this sweet soul. Joining us next on Road Gang Radio, we've got a guy whose music is gritty and powerful, just as gritty and powerful, Jim, as the life that he has shaped and led himself, as a matter of fact. So Scott Pryor, he's a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. He's Montana-born, Wyoming and Indiana raised rock powerhouse. He's got a brand new single called AWOL. I actually posted it, used it as our story promo and Insta story today.
Nice.
Yeah, it's loud, it's wild, it's unapologetically free. It comes straight from the heart of someone who knows what it means to drop everything, hit the road, and never look back, he says. His songs are forged in fire. He really tells stories about some trauma and triumph and transformation. Hey, Jim, you know I like this kind of thing.
You're big.
He's been inspired by his father, who was a honky-tonk pianist, but he's also a Telly Award winner for his anthem Breakaway. He's soul, man. He's soul and service and music, and we're excited to break it down with him today. Please make welcome to the show our new friend and yours, Scott Pryor. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you, brother?
I am very good. I'm excellent.
Where are you talking to us from right now? I mean, it could just be in your bedroom, but I mean, where are you talking to us from right now?
What are you wearing, Scott? Scott, what are you wearing?
Hey, I am wearing a hoodie against my. If my publicist was listening, she'd get so mad at me. She's like, "You are a rocker." Black jeans, black shirt, and I work out a lot, so I'm in a lot of workout clothes most of the time until if it's cameras around, I gotta put on the appropriate garb. But
Scott, I love a man in a hoodie. I love a man in a hoodie.
She does, actually. She does. She really does.
Dude, it's my favorite.
Thank you. I got plenty of them. Most of them are shredded and old. I look like I'm homeless, so.
That's okay.
Hey, it works for music. It helps music sometimes.
So let's kind of let's kind of jump in, by the way, and talk about some of this working that you're doing on your second album. We'll get back to the earlier stuff, but I kind of want to talk about where you are right now in regards to your current work, what you're crafting, what you're kind of making here, because there's a tribute that's going on here to one of my favorite songs. I mean, "We Belong" is a song that I would always crank up when I was kind of driving around in my younger days. So can you kind of talk about the decision to kind of do covers like this? Because covers are always fascinating to me. I say that unless you're going to kind of give your own take on the song, why do it? And can you talk about the gravitational point of kind of getting pulled into a song like Pat Benatar's "We Belong"?
Sure. So, our very first album, like we did zero covers whatsoever. It was all originals, which I love. I absolutely love creating music. It's one of my very favorite things to do. I'm obsessed about it. I'm always taking notes on my phone. I'll say stop. I'll be in mid conversation. I stop. I've got to write an idea down. So, the first album is all originals, and of course, there's influences by a lot of artists in there. But the second album, we were in studio and my producers, Jan Smith and Jesse Owen Austin, they're like, have we thought about doing a cover? And I said, I haven't really thought about doing covers, but, I'm like, what cover do we do? We're kind of thinking, and Pat Benatar, "We Belong." It's one of those songs that anytime, it comes on the radio, like I scream into the top of my lungs. And of course, I don't sound as good as Pat Benatar in her original key. But it's just one of those songs I love, and it's just, I come back to it, and I love the song. So we discussed it. We said, you have to put your own spin on it. So we kind of have a theme with the second album because we do a number of covers. And so what we do is we just use, obviously, I'm a male voice and I'm, a rocker, a little grittier. So we said, well, let's make it rockier. Let's make it grittier, but still have the integrity of the song. So that's what we did. And we've got some, we go heavy with it, but at the same time, we also keep the real coolness and the kind of vibe of, I guess the 80s. We've also done Bad Romance, Lady Gaga. Again, we start off with kind of a soft acoustic version of Bad Romance, and then about a third of the way, there's a break, and all of a sudden the guitars and everything comes in real heavy, and people are like, oh, so we've done that, and then we did Heart Alone, and these are all songs that I love. When they come on the radio, I love to sing them, and I just love it. And so the theme on the covers for the second album is basically powerful female rockers done with a male voice. So not a lot of people have covered. There's been some covers, but not a lot of people have covered some of the songs that we're doing. And we're just taking the powerful female rockers and then kind of give, it's our tribute to them, and then just kind of putting a male voice and a harder rock spin on them.
Well, and the influence, gosh, We Belong. I used to sing that song when I lived in LA on the Sunset Strip, and there's just a passion in there that you have to know emotion, you have to feel emotion, you have to have been through some stuff to sing these songs that come with such and then obviously put your own spin on it, but it comes with, certain inspirations that we've gone through growing up. We'll get back to what you've gone through kind of piece in a minute, but you grew up with a dad who was a world-class honky-tonk pianist, which I love. I'm curious how that shaped the sound you're creating now, because my dad, I'm a singer-songwriter, but my dad's an attorney and my mom is an interior decorator. And I always say to them, guys, you really didn't give me much inspiration when it comes to creativity there. And we joke around about it. But although my dad did play, and I know it's something that he would have always, wanted to pursue. So anyway, what with your dad doing that, you as a child, take me back to as a kid, watching your dad do that. Did you realize that? I mean, I think it's a real cool thing to have seen a parent really pursuing such a passion. Did you feel that growing up, and has that shaped a lot of what you do today?
Absolutely. My dad was, my grandfather was a honky-tonk piano player. My uncles all played. And so my dad was the standout. He was just a savant. I was born in Billings, Montana. And so we would just, friends would be like, hey, Doc, his nickname was Doc. Hey, Doc, come over and play. So we'd be invited to people's house, and he'd just sit down and stay at a piano, and he would crank it. And his hands would move so fast. I mean, he literally, the walls would shake. His hands would move so fast that you couldn't even keep up with what he was doing. He played by ear. He couldn't read a single note. You would just you'd hum something, and he'd just be able to play it. And he knew thousands of songs. And people were just memorized. People were just drawn to his music, and they'd be like, play more, play more, play more. And we went to, small churches out west, and they'd be like, hey, Doc, come and play in church. And then he'd play, and literally they'd say, hey, you got another one? And he'd say, sure. And he'd play again. He's like, you got another one? And so it always turned into music class. He was a magnet for, just music, and people were so drawn to what he's done. As a matter of fact, I think it was about 5 years ago, he went into a Costco and he sat down and played a little bit, and somebody videoed it, and it went viral. And so then some talk shows in Billings, he's like, what's this? My song went viral, and these news stations are calling me. I'm like, yeah, talk to him, Dad. But he never really did a lot with it. He came back. I had him produced. I live in Atlanta now, and one of my buddies is a producer. So I said, hey, I want to produce my dad. He's older now, and so he came in and he's like, your dad set a record. He played 20 some songs in the studio that I was able to record in one day, and he said he is literally one of the best in the world, one of the best I've ever seen. So growing up with Dad, just going and watching him perform and just kind of watching everybody be memorized, and they just couldn't get enough of him. Certainly had a massive influence on me, and music's always been in my blood. It's just, I've always loved music, and, I could take one song and I could listen to it over and over and over. I drive everyone around me crazy, so I put my earplugs in and I'm like, listen to the melody, listen to how and so he was a massive, massive influence on my life. And of course, it's just in my genes, it's in my blood.
This is something really interesting, too, because you actually, in some ways, have already kind of answered the question, which is really groovy. And I know Lindsay's had this moment. She kind of referenced the idea that when you grow up in these environments, and I'm going to actually ask Lindsay the same question, too. It's one thing to kind of look back and kind of realize what you were doing and what you were in the middle of. I'm actually asking, in those moments, especially when you were much younger, did you have an understanding of what you were in the middle of when the wall is shaking? Because we've all had those moments as artists, as people who are looking to create something, where you're like, you say to yourself, I should remember this. I need to remember this. This is important. What's happening right now is something that needs to go into the mind bank, into the mind palace. Were you cognizantly aware of what you were experiencing back in those days?
Oh, that's a really good question. I was in the fact that I knew that there was so much power in music. It's such a powerful, powerful, powerful medium. It's the language of the soul. And so as just a kid, I remember feeling the power of music. And that translating later in life, I appreciate it more, now that I'm older. I appreciate it more those times, because, you hear people play all the time, but the magnetism and I guess the charisma of the actual music itself and how it was affecting people. It was just normal for anywhere Dad would go. People were just in awe. So I appreciated it, but not as much as I do now. Not as much as I do now, but man, that's a great question.
I wanted to kind of follow up with that, kind of let that sit there for a second, and to kind of have you tease out the idea that this is the follow up, when you are creating that, do you follow what I'm saying here? When you are creating your own art, do you ever find yourself kind of conducting a moment of going back to those places and saying, I am there, that I'm standing where the people that produced me stood, and that I'm going to the places that they never got a chance to go to because of the lack of resources or the lack of opportunities that they have now provided me? That's always my follow-up to that.
Yes, and that's a great question. I do. I look at my dad and the level of his talent, and I thought, man, if he would have been in Nashville or some other place, and he certainly would have been discovered, and the world would know his name. And so, for me, I take the opportunity because I know that I was, like I said, music's in my blood, and so now I whenever I perform out or whenever we're in the studio or wherever we're creating music, I certainly appreciate. Go back and appreciate, where we've come from and what we've done with it. So certainly there's a strong level of appreciation, and it can certainly be surreal at times. I pinch myself. I'm very blessed to work with the producers that I've been able to work with and us, create the music that we've created. And it's absolutely exciting when I go in the studio. Conversely, it can be the most frustrating thing in the world if, you're trying to get a melody for, a song that you're working on and it's just not coming. And it's like, okay, let's put that down for a second and let's move on to something else. And, hopefully that melody will come, or just that perfect piece of the song will come. But I certainly reflect back to, my father and his journey. And he passed last year. And before he passed, I knew he was, I knew he was not in good health. And I remember, flying back to Montana, and I took him out for a drive, kind of where we used to live. And we were playing my first album, and he was jamming. He was like nodding his head and kind of doing the drums and guitar. He wasn't, he'd speak, but it wasn't, his normal self because he was his health was failing, but he gave me a thumbs up and approval. And, I'm a rocker, and he was honky tonk, but it was pretty surreal. So I certainly appreciate, kind of where those roots are. And I still feel that today.
That's really beautiful. And that's also, really interesting, the combination of when, kind of worlds collide, so to speak, even if it is a father-son, like the different genres. And it actually makes me, it's really interesting to me hear what you're doing musically, because, you've said there's two things going on. You said your music comes from real experiences and trauma and transformation, which is, I love talking about that kind of thing. And when you take that and then put it into art and expression and, get it out from a healing standpoint, but then also, rock in general is a lot of times about, rebellion and release. And it's, sometimes can be seen as a character. It seems like it's for you, it's not a character. This is who you are. But talk just a little bit about kind of the juxtaposition of lyrics that are about trauma and transformation, but when you're putting in to a rock kind of anthemic, high octane performance, how those two worlds collide.
Ooh, that's a good question, you guys. Good question. So for me, I just, people around me have said that, they think that rules don't apply to me. And I'm like, that's absolutely not true. I mean, I said, for me, rules are suggestions. It's kind of like, Scott, we would really appreciate it if you would follow the rules. We realize you're not going to, but we would appreciate it if you would. So there's,
we have to at least ask.
That's right. I mean, there are suggestions. No, I'm teasing, but no. I mean, for me, when I approach a song or whatever, and sometimes I get the double stare in the studio, like, you want to do what? So I just, for me, the high octane and stuff. I love songs that drive. When I first started with a vocal coach in Jan Smith's studio, and I mean, just with a vocal coach, and I was like, I just want to explore this. And she pulled me aside and she said, listen, she's like, you can take your music career as far as you want to go. I said, well, what if I want to headline stadium tour? She says, you can take it as far as you want to go if you put the work in. And then I brought in lyrics and stuff like that. And then, we kind of, discovered, it was a discovery process. And she's like, you go for songs that are just driving and just those big stadium songs that, people are chanting and singing along with. And so it's what I'm drawn to. I don't want to, sing. So I don't want to say boring, because there's definitely some slow songs that hit hard, but I want to do songs and music that speak to me. And, the first album, well, and honestly, the second album as well, people like, oh, that's eclectic. So, there's definitely juxtapositions from, you guys are talking about the song AWOL, but if you listen to AWOL, but then you line it up against like a Wide Awake, or even a Say Goodbye is slower. The grouping is very broad, like I was in the Marine Corps. So you want a tight grouping when you fire on a target, you want a tight grouping, and the music is pretty broad. I'm a vocal physical therapist, so he works on my neck and throat, and puts his fingers down my throat and stretches my tongue out. He's like, you got a lot of stress. I gotta work this out. And yeah, it's not fun. So he was listening, and we're working on. I said, listen, there's on the second album, it hasn't been released yet. There's a song called "Dance Makes My Dangerous." It's very hard. It's very driving. It's almost eerie in a way. And then I said, now listen to this newer song. It's more just, it's very poppy. It's a very pop song, and I don't have much pop on there. But I said, but I like the lyrics, and I like the feel of the song. And he said, he's from Australia. I'll butcher his accent. He's like, well, that's very interesting, Scott. I wouldn't know that's the same artist. But yeah, so,
I like that you tried the accent. I give you props for trying it, by the way.
Yeah, I tried. I butcher it.
That's all right, mate. That's all right.
Don't.
It's quite acceptable. Right. It's quite acceptable.
That's all right. It's all right, mate. So
there you go.
So I like the I just like the intensity of the songs, and I just want to do music that speaks to me. It's authentic. Like, I'm not trying to chase trends whatsoever. I mean, I could care less about trends. I just want to do music that's authentic, something that I want to sing. Because if it's not something I want to sing and it's contrived, I'm not going to sing it because I don't want to. So it's I like the high octane. I like the hitting songs, and so it's funner to sing. It's tougher vocally, especially having, I've got a performance tonight, and it's more of our it's all of a lot of our heavier stuff for this particular venue. But a couple weeks ago we went to the Atlanta Mission, and it's a homeless mission, and we played for this particular shelters for all men, and so we played for the men, and we had kind of a broader group, and so it was a different set. But man, I'm just really drawn to those hard hitting, authentic songs that you can headbang to, or just move your body to and dance.
Scott, I gotta put the brakes on.
Move your body and dance, Jim. Move your body and dance.
By the way, I can't move
Jim.
my body and dance. I can tell you who belongs to the light, who belongs to the thunder, though. Scott Pryor does. So what I did there, by the way, guys, Marine Corps guy, but more importantly, in this day and age, he is a rocker with a lot of thunder, as Pat Benatar talks about in her song. YouTube.com. You can find him at Scott Pryor. That's PRYOR. You can find him at the official Scott Pryor on the gram of Insta, and the X, formerly known as Twitter, at the Scott Pryor, and official Scott Pryor on the Book of Face. Guys, download the songs, please. Do not just listen to them. Download them. Find out where he's going to be next. And Scott, thrilled to have you, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me so much. And if you guys would follow, that would really help us. I'm not with the label right now. I've been discouraged from going to a label because they said they're going to try to control you, and that doesn't work so well for me. But as an independent artist, we really rely on listeners to follow us. Reach out, comment, let us know. I know that you guys have a big audience of truck drivers, and I was literally telling somebody yesterday, my uncle drove truck. He's got over 1 million miles. And my father drove a truck back in the day. And so I know it can be lonely out there. I know it can be tough. It's tough on the family. And, truck drivers are certainly the salt of the earth. And they're wonderful people. So you guys listen to music and think of me, and just know that you're in my heart. And much love goes out.
Thank you, Scott.
Much love. Much love to you, Scott Pryor. Check him out, y'all. This is Road Gang Radio. We will be right back. Thank you, Scott.